2,000 years ago, Roman priests burned opium in the Temple of Apollo and called it communion with the gods. 500 years ago, Aztec shamans chewed peyote buttons and claimed they could see the future written in fire. 100 years ago, American housewives sipped cocaine-laced wine and called it medicine. Today, we swallow 4.5 billion opioid prescriptions every year and wonder why we can't stop. Humanity has changed everything in 2 millennia. We've split atoms, mapped genomes, walked on the moon. But there's one thing we haven't changed, one pattern we can't break, one hunger we can't kill. We're still chasing the exact same high the Romans chased when their empire was burning. And tonight you're going to live through every single attempt, every promise, every betrayal, every body left behind. This story doesn't have a happy ending, but it has the truth. And it begins 2,000 years ago in a temple you're about to enter, breathing smoke you'll never forget. My name is Silas Thorne. I'm 34 years old. I make documentaries about hidden history, the stories textbooks skip, the patterns people don't want to see. And 6 months ago, I found my brother Ezra on his bathroom floor in Brooklyn. Lips blue, pupils fixed, 24 years old and already gone. The coroner said fentanyl, laced heroin, street drugs, but I knew better. Ezra didn't start with street drugs. He started with a prescription, Vicodin after surgery for a torn rotator cuff. Legal, doctor approved, FDA, certified safe. 18 months later, he was dead. And I couldn't stop asking the same question. Why? Why do we do this? Why does every generation, every civilization, every culture on earth discover intoxication and then destroy itself with it? So I did what I always do. I researched archives, medical journals, ancient texts, archaeological reports. I interviewed historians, pharmacologists, addicts, survivors. And I found something. Not an answer, but a pattern. The same pattern repeating across 2,000 years. Different drugs, different languages, different gods, but the same story told in the same 5 acts ending the same way every time, with bodies. Tonight I'm going to show you that pattern. You're going to live it, feel it, taste the smoke, swallow the pills, watch the empires fall. Because maybe if we finally understand why we keep doing this, we can stop. Or maybe we can't. Maybe this is just what it means to be human. Let's find out. But before we step into that Roman temple, I need you to do something. If this matters to you, if you've lived through this or loved someone who has hit that like button and subscribe, not for me, for Ezra, for everyone who didn't make it, so their stories don't disappear. Now let me ask you something. Do you remember when doctors made house calls? When prescriptions came in glass bottles with your pharmacist's name written in cursive? Do you remember when your doctor told you something was safe and you believed him? Not because you were naive, but because why wouldn't you? He was the expert. He'd studied. He knew. Have you ever taken a pill every day for years and wondered if you could stop? Not wanted to stop, just wondered if you physically could. Comment below. Tell me your story, because I guarantee you have one. Your father's Valium, your mother's Milltown, your own Xanax. Maybe all 3. We all have a story about this. Tonight, those stories connect. All right, turn off your lights. If you've got a fan, turn it on for that soft white noise. Get comfortable. We're about to go deep. You ready? Here's what I need you to understand. Everything I'm about to tell you is real. The Roman temples, the opium, the protocols they followed, the emperors who broke them, the epidemics that followed. Every word is documented, verified, true, which makes it more terrifying than any fiction could be. Because if it happened to Rome, the greatest empire in human history, what makes us think we're different? Spoiler alert, we're not. Here we go. Have you ever wondered what it felt like to be a Roman priest standing in a temple as sacred smoke curled around your face? Have you ever thought about what that smoke actually was? What it smelled like? What it did to your brain? What if you could experience exactly what a Roman emperor experienced when he drank wine laced with opium and declared himself a god? What if I told you that high was stronger, stranger, more profound than anything available today? What if every drug epidemic in human history is the same story wearing different clothes? What if your generation lived through one of those epidemics and nobody called it that because the drugs had prescription labels instead of street names? Welcome, it's the year 117 AD. You're standing at the entrance to the Temple of Isis in Rome. Not tourist Rome, real Rome, living, breathing, intoxicated Rome. The air is thick, dense. It smells like burning cedar and something sweeter underneath. Floral but wrong, like flowers that bloom at night and close in daylight. Around you, the city pulses. Merchants shout prices in Latin you somehow understand, because this is my memory, my research filtered through your consciousness. Children chase each other through marble columns. A man struggles with an amphora of wine, the cartwheels screaming against stone. But your attention pulls forward, into the temple, where something waits. You step across the threshold. The world shifts. Inside, the air is blue, not metaphorically, actually blue with smoke, so thick it has texture. Your lungs fill before you can stop them, and immediately something changes. Not dramatic, not sudden, just a softening at the edges. Like reality has been turned down 10%. Colors slightly brighter, sounds slightly distant, your heartbeat slightly slower. A priest stands at the altar, white robes, eyes closed, swaying like kelp in current. His hands are open, palms up, fingers spread wide, catching something invisible. Around him, people sit cross-legged on the stone floor, silent, eyes closed, breathing in unison without trying. One woman giggles, soft, a secret shared with herself. Another gasps like she just remembered her own name for the first time. You crouch near the wall. The stone is cool against your palm. You inhale. The smoke tastes like honey burnt in copper. Frankincense, yes. Myrrh, definitely. But there's more. Something that makes your tongue numb and your thoughts expand like clouds dispersing. This isn't prayer. This is chemistry. Let me tell you what historians found, what archaeologists pieced together from residue analysis in ancient texts and patterns in the architecture itself. The Romans didn't stumble into this. They engineered it. The temple design channels airflow to concentrate smoke at specific heights. The herb blend, refined over centuries, contains opium, poppy cannabis resin, and compounds we still can't identify. The fasting required before entering primes your metabolism. The chanting regulates breathing to maximize absorption. Every element is intentional, calculated, scientific. This is technology, ancient technology, but technology nonetheless. The goal wasn't escape, it was expansion. Not to forget the self, but to experience something larger, to touch what they called the divine. And for a few hours in that temple, breathing that carefully crafted smoke following the precise protocol developed over generations, it worked. You feel it now. Your body warms from the inside, your skin tingles. The priest's chanting becomes three-dimensional, each syllable landing in your chest like a physical thing. You close your eyes. Something opens. Not a door. More like a veil lifting. A glimpse of something vast and patient waiting just behind normal perception. The Romans called it the kurns. Neuroscience would call it altered neural states induced by psychoactive compounds combined with ritualized behavior and expectation. But in this moment, the label doesn't matter. What matters is the feeling, connection, wonder, a sense that reality is bigger and stranger than you've been taught. And here's the crucial part, the part that matters for everything that comes after. This wasn't recreational. This was sacred. This was the technology of transcendence. But technology only works if you follow the protocol. 3 stages, always 3. Stage 1, purification, fasting, meditation, preparation. You don't just show up high, you prepare your body and mind to receive the experience. Stage 2, elevation. The smoke, the wine, the herbs, the chemicals that shift consciousness and open doors. Stage 3, integration. After the experience, you process, with priests, with community. You make meaning from what you saw. You translate neurochemical events into personal wisdom. All 3 stages, every time. No shortcuts. That's the protocol. And for centuries it worked, until someone decided they didn't need all 3 stages. Until someone with enough power decided they could skip straight to stage 2. That someone was an emperor named Nero. And that's when Rome began to fall. Time shifts. You're standing in a different temple now. The transition is seamless, dreamlike. This one is older, rougher, built into a hillside over a crack in the earth, the temple of Apollo at Delphi. Inside, the air is different, cooler but heavier, like breathing liquid. In the center, sitting on a stone platform directly above a jagged fissure, is a woman, the Sibyl, the oracle, the one who speaks for the god. She's not what you expected. Older, maybe 60, gray hair matted with herbs and thyme, robe stained, barefoot. Her head tilts slowly back and forth like she's listening to music played at a frequency you can't hear. You move closer. The fissure beneath her breathes. You can see it. A shimmer in the air like heat waves, but this isn't heat. It's gas, ethylene. rising from deep in the earth, filtered through rock, altered by pressure and chemistry and time. The Sibyl inhales, deep, slow, deliberate. Her eyes roll back until only whites show, and she speaks. Not in Latin, not in Greek, something older, pre-language, just sounds shaped like prophecy. A priest translates. His voice is practiced smooth. He's done this 1,000 times. The lion falls by the gate of iron. Beware the river of crows. When the eagle loses its wings, the serpent will rise from southern water. Cryptic, vague, could mean anything or nothing, but everyone nods like it's obvious. Here's what modern science found. That fissure really does emit ethylene gas. Geologists confirmed it in the 1990s. Ethylene causes euphoria, disorientation, sometimes vivid hallucinations. The Sibyl isn't faking. She's genuinely altered, neurologically, chemically. But the Romans didn't have mass spectrometry. They didn't know about hydrocarbon chains. All they knew was sit above the sacred crack, breathe the sacred air, and the God speaks through you. And because everyone believed it, because the culture supported it, because the ritual framed it, it worked. Not as literal prophecy, but as psychological technology, a way to access intuition, pattern, recognition, subconscious wisdom. The gas opened the door. The ritual walked them through. The community gave it meaning, all 3 stages. The protocol working exactly as designed. For centuries, until the emperors discovered they could buy the gas, bottle it, take it home, skip the temple, the priests, skip the integration. Just the high, just stage 2, you can't make this up. Archaeological evidence shows imperial households had stores of concentrated herbal preparations, opium, cannabis, mystery compounds. The emperors could access elevation whenever they wanted, without purification, without integration. And that's when the pattern broke. It's night now. You're in the streets of Rome. Torches flicker in alcoves. Music drifts from somewhere. Drums, reed pipes, laughter that edges toward hysteria. You follow the sound down an alley, through a gate, into a courtyard packed with people moving like their bones have turned to water. This is a Bacchanalian rite, a festival for Dionysus. Bacchus, the god of wine, madness, ecstasy, and losing yourself in the most sacred way possible. The air hits you like a fist. Sweet, fermented, spiced. Wine, yes, but corrupted with something darker. Someone hands you a cup, clay, crude, filled with liquid that smells like Christmas and funeral flowers. You drink before you can think. Mistake. Your tongue goes numb instantly. Within a minute, your chest blooms with warmth like you swallowed the sun. Within 5 minutes, you are profoundly, undeniably altered. This isn't wine. This is wine boiled with pepper, cinnamon, honey, opium, maybe mandrake, maybe henbane. Ancient texts describe the recipes, but archaeochemists still can't reproduce them exactly. Whatever it is, it works fast and hits hard. The drums get louder, not louder, closer, like they're inside your ribs now. People around you aren't dancing. They're convulsing, possessed. One woman spins until she collapses. A man drops to his knees and screams at the ground like it insulted his mother. Someone else is crying and laughing at the same time, and you understand. You understand because you feel it too. The wall between you and everything else is dissolving. Your edges blur. You are the music. You are the fire. You are every person in this courtyard, and the stone beneath their feet, and the stars watching from above. This is what they meant by enthusiasm. Entheus, God inside. But here's what matters. This is still ritual, still controlled, still sacred. There are priests here watching, holding space, making sure nobody hurts themselves or others. And tomorrow there will be a gathering, a processing, an integration. The madness is temporary, contained, purposeful. It gives people permission to release what they can't release in daily life. All the rage, grief, fear, desire that Roman society forces them to swallow. For one night, the rules suspend. For one night, you can be well divine free. And then you return. You reintegrate. You go back to being a disciplined Roman citizen. That's the protocol. That's what makes it work. Lose control in ritual. Regain control in life. But only if you follow all 3 stages. Only if you don't try to stay elevated permanently. Only if you remember that the high is a tool, not a destination. Rome remembered this. For centuries, Rome remembered. And then an emperor named Nero decided the rules didn't apply to him. You're in the imperial palace now. The transition is abrupt, jarring, like waking from one dream into another. The palace is obscene, gold on every surface. Marble floors polished to black mirrors. Frescoes depicting gods in positions that would make pornographers blush. The air is thick with incense, layer upon layer of it burned day after day until the walls themselves are saturated. Frankincense, myrrh, something else, something chemical and wrong. You find Nero in a private chamber. He's younger than history remembers him, maybe 32, handsome in a soft way like spoiled fruit, still beautiful on the outside. He's reclining on a couch upholstered in silk from China. Around him, attendants hover like nervous birds. One holds a cup, another waves a feather fan, a third plays a lyre badly, but nobody corrects him because you don't correct the emperor's musician. On the table, a silver dish. In the dish, dark resin, opium, pure, concentrated, worth more than most Romans earn in a lifetime. Nero takes a piece, pea-sized, places it on his tongue like communion. Within minutes, his smile widens, his eyes drift closed, his body melts into the couch. Do you know what it's like, he says to no one, to everyone, to the universe, to have everything and feel nothing? The attendants don't answer. You don't answer because you're not really here. You're remembering my research, experiencing what I've pieced together from accounts written by Suetonius Tacitus, Cassius Dio. I am a god, Nero continues. His eyes are still closed. Everyone says so. The Senate, the priests, the people. Divine Nero, son of Apollo, Lord of Rome. He opens his eyes. They're empty. Black holes where a person should be. But if I'm divine, why do I feel so hollow? This is the moment the protocol breaks. The priest told him there were stages. Purification, elevation, integration, that the gods must be approached with humility, preparation, respect. But Nero is emperor. He doesn't need permission. He doesn't need rules. He takes another piece of opium, larger this time, then another, and another. You watch over weeks compressed into minutes as Nero spirals. He doesn't just use opium for ritual. He uses it to sleep, to wake, to eat, to think, to feel anything at all. The dose increases. Once a day becomes 3 times, 3 becomes 6, 6 becomes constant. And the more he uses, the less it works. The warmth fades. The euphoria dulls. The sense of connection becomes a ghost of a memory. So he adds other things. Wine, mandrake, henbane, whatever his physicians can acquire. He becomes paranoid, erratic, cruel in ways that shock even Rome, which has seen plenty of cruelty. He sees conspiracies in every shadow, enemies in every face. He has his mother executed, his wife, his advisors, his friends, not because they betrayed him, but because the drugs have convinced him they might. Historical accounts describe his final years. He'd perform in public theaters, forcing senators to watch. He'd wander the palace at night, screaming at phantoms. He'd take so much opium that he'd collapse mid-sentence unconscious for hours. The Senate whispered, "The gods have cursed him." Divine madness. But it wasn't divine madness. It was chemical dependence induced by breaking the protocol. It was stage 2 without stage 1 or stage 3. It was elevation without purification or integration. It was the sacred technology of consciousness used like a toy by someone who thought power exempted him from wisdom. And it destroyed him. In 68 AD, with Rome burning and enemies closing in, Nero killed himself, or tried to. He couldn't do it. Too weak, too altered. He had a servant drive the blade. His last words, according to Suetonius, "What an artist dies in me." Not remorse, not reflection, just narcissism to the end. But here's what matters for our story. Nero wasn't unique. He was a pattern, a template, a warning. And Rome didn't listen. Time accelerates. You're moving through Rome now, watching years pass like pages turning. The temples still operate. The rituals continue. But something has changed. The protocols are loosening. People are skipping steps. Why fast for 3 days when you can just buy stronger opium? Why integrate with priests when you can just take more tomorrow? The sacred becomes profane. The technology becomes recreation. Wine cellars on every corner hawk blends stronger than the gods drink. Street-level opium dens appear where men lie in rows, eyes empty, lives suspended. Young patricians brag about tolerance, about how much they can handle. The experience becomes a competition instead of a communion. The priests still teach the protocol, but fewer people listen. Why study for years when you can get high today? You watch the empire rot from the inside. Not from barbarians, not from economics. From this, from the loss of discipline, the loss of meaning, the loss of the sacred. From people chasing elevation without integration, transcendence without transformation, the high without the work, slowly, gradually, inevitably. Rome falls, not in a single moment, not dramatically, just a slow collapse. A great civilization that forgot why it started seeking the gods in the first place, that forgot the protocol, that thought power and wealth exempted them from wisdom. By 476 AD, it's over. The Western Roman Empire, the greatest civilization the world has known, is gone. And in the ruins scattered among the collapsed temples and broken aqueducts, archaeologists would later find evidence. Opium pipes, cannabis residue, wine vessels with herbal compounds baked into the ceramic. The drugs didn't destroy Rome. The broken protocol destroyed Rome. The elevation without integration destroyed Rome. The forgetting destroyed Rome. You're standing outside the temple of Isis again, where you started, full circle. The smoke still drifts from the windows, but thinner now, weaker, like the memory of something that once mattered. You step inside one last time. The priest is gone. The worshippers are gone. Just a few stragglers looking lost. One of them sees you. Old man, 70 maybe, tired eyes that have seen too much. You're new, he says, just visiting. Visiting, he takes the word, from where, the future, you say. He nods like that's reasonable. Does it get better in the future? You think about Ezra, about finding him on the bathroom floor, about the opioid epidemic, about OxyContin and fentanyl and every drug crisis that's come and gone and come again. No, you tell him honestly, we make the same mistakes, just with different drugs. He smiles, sad, knowing. Of course you do, because the problem isn't the drugs. It's us. It's always been us. Then what's the answer? There isn't one, there's just a choice every day. Every person. Follow the protocol or don't. Use the technology with wisdom or let it destroy you. And if you choose wrong, he gestures around the empty temple, at the smoke thinning to nothing, at the civilization crumbling outside. This. You stand together in silence. Two people separated by 2,000 years, connected by the same question. Why do we do this? Why can't we stop? The temple doesn't answer. Temples never do. They just hold the space and wait for someone wise enough to remember what was forgotten. You're leaving Rome now, being pulled forward through time, through history, through the same pattern wearing different masks. The scene shifts, accelerates, blurs. You see flashes medieval Europe, monks copying recipes for opium tinctures. For pain, they write, for God's mercy on the suffering. Renaissance Italy, doctors prescribing cannabis for melancholia. It works. Patients improve. No one calls it addiction because that word doesn't exist yet. Colonial America, George Washington grows hemp. Thomas Jefferson imports opium. Benjamin Franklin takes it for his gout and writes beautiful letters about the relief. The Civil War, field hospitals, soldiers screaming, surgeons sawing through bone while men are held down by four others. Then morphine arrives and the screaming stops. Miracle medicine, thousands of lives saved, thousands of addictions begun. You're about to step into that era, about to live through the next chapter of humanity's long broken relationship with elevation and integration. You're about to see what happens when Rome's lesson is forgotten completely, when the protocol is lost to history, when medicine becomes business and business becomes epidemic. The smoke from the Roman temple fades behind you. Ahead, America waits, young, optimistic, certain it's different, certain that this time with science and medicine and modern thinking will finally get it right. Certain we've learned from the past. Spoiler alert, we haven't learned anything. Rome fell because they forgot the protocol. America is about to do the same thing, just faster, more efficiently, with better marketing. The pattern continues, it always continues, because we're human. And humans never learn, not really. We just hope that this time maybe we'll be different, knowing we won't be. But hoping anyway. The smoke clears, America rises, and the same old story begins again. You're standing on a different street, different world. The marble and incense of Rome replaced by wood and coal smoke. The year is 1847. Philadelphia, corner of Chestnut and 7th Street. The air smells like progress, industry, horse manure and ambition, but underneath something familiar. Something sweet and chemical that makes your throat itch the same way the Roman temple did. You're standing outside a shop. The sign above the door reads, Harrison's Apothecary and Chemist, modern remedies for the modern age. Through the window you see shelves lined with bottles, brown glass, green glass, clear glass, each one labeled in careful copperplate script. each one promising relief. You push open the door. A bell chimes, cheerful, innocent. The pharmacist looks up, mid-50s. Wire spectacles perched on his nose. Clean white apron. Kind eyes. "Good morning," he says. "What ails you today?" You look at the shelves, reading labels. Taking inventory. Laudanum. For pain coughs and nervous disorders. The ingredient list in tiny print. Opium tincture, 10% morphine by weight. Right there on the shelf next to peppermint oil and castor tonic. Dover's powder. Eases all suffering. Ingredients: opium, ipecac, licorice root. Godfrey's cordial. For restless children. Ingredients: opium, molasses, sassafras. Recommended dosage: half teaspoon for infants, full teaspoon for older children. And then you see it, the bottle that makes your stomach drop. Mrs. Winslow's soothing syrup. Every mother's friend. The label shows a cherubic baby sleeping peacefully in a cradle. Moonlight through a window. Peace. Serenity. Relief for exhausted mothers. The ingredient list: morphine sulfate, 65 milligrams per fluid ounce. Morphine for babies. You pick up the bottle, turn it in your hands. The label is beautiful, professional, medical. It looks trustworthy, and it works. That's the terrible part. It actually works. "That's our most popular item," the pharmacist says, nodding at the bottle. Mothers swear by it. One dose and the little ones sleep through the night. Teething pain vanishes. Colic disappears. It's quite remarkable. "What's in it?" you ask, even though you already know. He adjusts his spectacles, smiles. Morphine sulfate sodium carbonate phenyl extract. Completely safe. Developed by Mrs. Charlotte Winslow herself, a nurse with 30 years of experience. Doctors recommend it universally. And it's not dangerous. He laughs, actually laughs. "Dangerous? It's medicine, sir. Prescribed by physicians. Used by respectable families. No more dangerous than bread or water. The morphine content is precisely calibrated for safety." You set the bottle down carefully. Because you know what? He doesn't. You know that by 1890, morphine addiction will be so widespread in America that doctors will have a name for it: the army disease. You know that by 1900, 1 in 400 Americans will be chemically dependent on opiates. Most of them started with medicine exactly like this. You know that Mrs. Winslow's soothing syrup will eventually be banned, but not until 1915, after decades, after millions of bottles sold, after countless infants and children given morphine by parents who trusted the label. But right now, in 1847, none of that has happened yet. Right now, this is just medicine. Modern, scientific, safe. The pharmacist is showing you other bottles now. Excited. This is his pride. We also carry cocaine lozenges for hay fever and fatigue. Heroin tablets for persistent coughs just came in from Germany. Cannabis tincture for nervous conditions and women's complaints. Chloroform for difficult monthly periods. He says these words like they're miracles. And in a way they are. Before these drugs, surgery meant being held down while someone sawed through your leg. Childbirth meant screaming for hours with no relief. A toothache could drive you to suicide. These medicines changed that. Gave humanity power over pain for the first time in history. That's not nothing. That's revolutionary. But here's what Rome knew. In 1847, America has forgotten. Power without protocol is just another word for disaster. The pharmacist is still talking. The modern age, sir. Chemistry has unlocked the secrets of nature. We can isolate the beneficial compounds and discard the harmful. Pure relief without side effects. It's truly a golden age of medicine. You nod, say nothing. Because what can you say that he's wrong? That every bottle on his shelf will eventually be regulated, restricted, or banned. That pure relief without side effects is a fantasy that will destroy millions of lives. He wouldn't believe you. Nobody would. Because right now in 1847, science is God, and chemistry is his prophet. And if German chemists in lab coats say it's safe, then it's safe. Who are you to argue with progress? Time shifts. Same city, same shop. 10 years later, 1857. The storefront is bigger now, fancier, gas lamps instead of oil, mahogany counter, display cases arranged like jewelry stores. The owner has changed, younger man, slicked hair, expensive suit. This isn't a pharmacist. This is a businessman. A customer enters, middle-aged man, factory worker by the look of his calloused hands. He's coughing, deep wet coughs that shake his whole frame. "I see you've got a nasty cough, friend," the owner says. His smile is practiced, salesman smooth. I've got just the thing. He produces a bottle with a flourish. Dr. Pemberton's coca wine, guaranteed to cure coughs consumption, nervous disorders, general debility, and melancholia. $1. The worker hesitates. That's a week's wages. Indeed, but can you put a price on health, on the ability to work, to provide for your family? 1 bottle, sir. That's all you need. You'll feel like a new man. The label is gorgeous, red and gold foil. It shows a classical woman holding a cup toward the sky, looking ecstatic. Divine. The ingredient list in tiny print: coca leaf extract, cocaine alkaloid, fortified wine, alcohol 18%, natural flavors. Cocaine and alcohol, marketed as health tonic. The worker buys it. Of course he does. He needs to work. He needs to breathe. He needs relief. You watch him leave clutching the bottle like salvation. And you know what happens next because you've seen this before. In Rome, in the temples, in Nero's palace. He'll take it. Feel better. Genuinely, dramatically better. The cocaine will suppress his cough, elevate his mood, give him energy. The alcohol will smooth the edges. He'll take it again tomorrow. And the next day. Within a month, he'll need it. Not want, need. His brain chemistry will have changed. Dopamine receptors down-regulated. Tolerance building. The dose that worked last week needs to be higher this week. Within 6 months, he'll be spending half his wages on Dr. Pemberton's coca wine. Within a year, he'll be buying cheaper versions on the street. Stronger versions, purer cocaine. Within 2 years, he'll be dead, or might as well be. Job lost, family gone, health destroyed, and he'll die believing it was his fault, that he was weak, that he lacked character. He'll never know he was trapped from the first dose, that the chemistry in his brain was altered in ways that had nothing to do with willpower or morality. He'll never know that Rome had figured this out 2,000 years ago, that there was a protocol, 3 stages: purification, elevation, integration. He'll never know that he got stage 2 without stage 1 or stage 3, that he was set up to fail from the moment he bought that first bottle. He'll just know he's broken and blame himself. And the businessman who sold him the coca wine, he'll go home to his nice house and sleep fine, because business is business. And the customer wanted relief. It's not his fault the relief came with invisible chains. You're walking through Philadelphia now, watching the city change, years passing like flipped pages. 1860, coca wine advertisements on every corner, testimonials from doctors, priests, mothers. Restored my vigor, cured my sadness. My children thrive. The ads show happy families, healthy children, productive workers, the American dream in a bottle. 1861. The Civil War begins. Everything changes. Suddenly, morphine production increases tenfold. The Union Army needs it desperately. Soldiers are getting shot, limbs are getting amputated, men are screaming, and morphine makes the screaming stop. You're in a field hospital now. Virginia, 1863. The smell hits you first. Blood, gangrene, shit, fear. Men are lying in rows, some screaming, some silent, which is worse. A surgeon moves between them. His apron is red. His sleeves are rolled up. His saw is still bloody from the last amputation. He stops at a young man, 19 maybe, legs shattered below the knee, bone fragments visible through torn flesh. "This one's coming off," the surgeon says to his assistant. The boy starts screaming before they even touch him. The assistant produces a bottle, brown glass, no label needed. Everyone knows what it is: morphine sulfate, dissolved in alcohol, administered by spoon. The surgeon measures carefully, 2 spoonfuls, waits 60 seconds. The boy's screaming softens, his eyes glaze, his body goes slack. "All right, hold him steady." The saw bites into flesh, into bone. The sound is wet and terrible, but the boy doesn't scream, just moans softly, lost somewhere in morphine clouds. 10 minutes later, it's done. Leg amputated, stump cauterized, wound dressed. The boy is alive. That's what matters. The morphine saved his life, but there's always a but. The assistant hands the boy the bottle. "Take 1 spoonful every 4 hours for pain. You'll be fine." The boy nods, takes the bottle, clutches it like a teddy bear. He doesn't know he'll be taking morphine for the rest of his life, that every 4 hours will become every 3, then every 2, then every hour. He doesn't know that by 1870 he'll be taking doses that would have killed him in 1863, that his tolerance will be so high that normal amounts do nothing. He doesn't know he's trapped, that the medicine that saved his life has also enslaved it. Nobody knows, because the word addiction doesn't mean what it means now. In 1863, addiction means strong habit, like biting your nails, like drinking coffee. The idea that a chemical can physically alter your brain, creating dependence regardless of character, that's not understood yet. That won't be understood for another 50 years. So the boy takes his morphine home, and thousands like him, hundreds of thousands. Time jumps. 1865. The war ends. Soldiers return home. Young men missing limbs, old men missing years, everyone missing something. And many of them are carrying small bottles. Brown glass, morphine. For pain, take as needed. You follow one of them, James Garrett, 23 years old, lost his left arm at Gettysburg, carrying 300 morphine tablets and a renewable prescription. He gets off the train in Pittsburgh, walks to a boarding house, climbs 3 flights of stairs, each step harder than the last because phantom pain is real and relentless. His room is small, bed, chair, window overlooking an alley. He sits on the bed, takes out his bottle. The label says, take one every 4 hours. It's been 3 hours. Close enough. He swallows a tablet, dry, waits. 15 minutes later, the pain fades. The phantom limb stops screaming. The memories of Gettysburg blur slightly. He lies back and closes his eyes. This is the only peace he gets. These 45 minutes after each dose, when the pain is quiet and the memories are distant and the world feels survivable. He's taking 6 tablets a day now, up from 4 last month. He tells himself it's temporary, just until he finds work, just until he adjusts, just until the pain lessens. The pain never lessens. You watch James over the next 5 years compressed into 5 minutes. 1866, 7 tablets a day, starting to worry but not enough to stop. 1867, 10 tablets a day. His prescription runs out. The doctor refuses to renew. You're becoming dependent. I can't, in good conscience, continue prescribing. So James buys them on the street, from other veterans selling their prescriptions, from pharmacies that don't ask questions. The price is higher, but he pays it because the alternative is impossible. 1868, 15 tablets a day. He's lost his job as a clerk. Can't focus. Can't function without morphine in his system. Spends his days acquiring the next dose. 1869, 20 tablets a day. His savings are gone. He's selling his possessions. His watch, his father's pocket knife, his uniform. 1870, James Garrett is found dead in his boarding house room. Overdose. The bottle beside him is empty. The newspaper obituary is 3 lines. James Garrett, 28, veteran of the war between the states, died suddenly of war-related complications. No services planned. War-related complications. That's what they call it. Not addiction, not chemical dependence. Not a system that gave powerful drugs to traumatize men and then abandoned them. War-related complications, like he caught a disease, like it was inevitable, like nothing could have been done. You stand in that boarding house room looking at the empty bottle and you think about Rome, about the protocol, about purification, elevation, integration. James got elevation. The morphine elevated him out of pain, out of trauma, out of unbearable reality. But there was no purification, no preparation, no understanding of what he was taking or why. And there was no integration, no community to process the experience, no meaning to attach to it, no ritual to contain it. Just take this. Don't take too much. Good luck. And we wonder why it didn't work. The scene shifts faster now. You're accelerating through time. Decades blurring. 1880s, the army disease is undeniable. 400,000 morphine addicts in America. Most of them started with medical prescriptions. Most of them are veterans, but also housewives, factory workers, students, priests, anyone with access to a pharmacy and a complaint. Because morphine is still legal, still available, still prescribed freely. 1890s. A new miracle drug arrives, developed by Bayer Pharmaceutical Company in Germany. Diacetylmorphine, heroin, named after the German word heroisch, heroic, because it makes you feel invincible. The marketing is brilliant, everywhere. Magazines, newspapers, billboards. Bayer heroin, safer than morphine, non-addictive, perfect for children's coughs. You're in New York City, 1898, a pharmacy on Lexington Avenue. A mother enters with her son. The boy is maybe 7, coughing, thin, pale. The pharmacist doesn't hesitate. Bayer heroin tablets, 2 tablets 3 times daily. He'll be healthy as a horse within the week. The mother looks uncertain. My neighbor said heroin is dangerous. Dangerous. The pharmacist laughs. Madam, this is modern medicine, developed by the finest chemists in Germany. It's actually safer than morphine because it's more pure. Would Bayer Pharmaceuticals sell it if it weren't safe? They're the company that makes aspirin, for heaven's sake. She buys it. Of course she does. Her son is sick. The doctor recommended it. Bayer is a trusted name. And you know what's coming and you can't stop it because this is history, and history is just catastrophe in slow motion. The boy's cough clears up. Genuinely. Heroin is an excellent cough suppressant, but his mother notices something else. On the heroin, her son is calm, peaceful, obedient. He stops being restless, stops causing trouble, just sits quietly reading or staring out windows. She thinks, what wonderful medicine. So she keeps giving it to him, even after the cough is gone, because he's so much easier, so much calmer. By the time she realizes something is wrong, it's too late. The boy is 10 now. He gets sick if he misses a dose. Sweating, shaking, vomiting, his small body going through withdrawal. She goes back to the pharmacy. Something's wrong with my son. The medicine isn't working anymore. He needs more and more. The pharmacist shifts uncomfortably. Madam, I think perhaps he's become dependent. On medicine, how is that possible? I don't know, but you're not the first mother to say this. By 1910, Bayer quietly stops marketing heroin for children. By 1924, heroin is illegal in the United States. But it's too late. Tens of thousands of Americans are dependent. Most started with medicine. Legal medicine. Trusted medicine. And they're told it's their fault, that they're weak, immoral, criminal. The companies that sold it, they move on to the next drug, the next promise, the next profit. Bayer goes back to making aspirin. Nobody holds them accountable. Nobody even asks questions. Business is business. You're in the 1920s now. Prohibition era. Everything is illegal and therefore everywhere. Speakeasy in Chicago, basement club, jazz music, cigarette smoke so thick it has weight. At the bar, a woman is laughing, mid-20s, flapper dress, bobbed hair. She's drinking gin from a teacup and sniffing white powder off the back of her hand. Cocaine. Not medical cocaine, street cocaine. Cut with who knows what. Sold by who knows who at who knows what purity. This is what prohibition does. Removes all quality control, all regulation, all safety. The woman takes another bump. Her pupils dilate like blooming flowers. She laughs louder, dances harder. 6 months from now, she'll be dead. The cocaine was cut with strychnine rat poison. She didn't know. Couldn't have known. When everything is illegal, nothing is safe. Time accelerates again. You're jumping decades now. 1930s marijuana prohibition. Justified by racist propaganda about Mexican immigrants and black jazz musicians. 1940s amphetamines given to soldiers. Benzedrine, dexedrine. Go pills to keep them awake and fighting. They work. Soldiers march farther, fight harder, sleep less. They also come home addicted. But nobody talks about that. Again, 1950s, the golden age of American pharmaceuticals. Better living through chemistry. You're in suburban Connecticut. 1955, a neighborhood that looks like a TV commercial. White houses, green lawns, children playing. Inside one house, Eleanor Whitmore, 34 years old, mother of 3, wife of an executive, member of the PTA. She's exhausted, not tired, exhausted, bone deep, soul deep. She does everything right, cooks, cleans, raises children, volunteers, smiles, never complains. But inside, she's screaming. At her annual checkup, she mentions it to her doctor. I just feel empty, like I'm watching my life from outside. The doctor nods. He's heard this before. Sounds like nerves, common in women your age. Too much time, thinking not enough, keeping busy. She almost laughs. Too much time. She hasn't sat down in 12 years. I have something that might help. He writes a prescription. Milltown, new drug. Wonderful. Calms the nerves without making you drowsy. You'll feel like yourself again. She fills it that day, takes 1 tablet before bed. In the morning, she feels capable. Not happy, just capable. Like she can face the day without screaming. She takes another after lunch. By the end of the week, she's taking 4 a day. By 1957, 1 in 3 prescriptions in America is for Milltown or similar tranquilizers. Mother's little helper. Eleanor will take it every day for the next 23 years. She'll never call it addiction. She'll call it medicine, because that's what her doctor called it. The kitchen fades. You're in another doctor's office. 1963. Different woman. Same story. Her name is Patricia. The doctor is younger, progressive. He's read the latest journals. Mrs. Thompson, I'm going to prescribe you something new. It's called Valium. Just came out last year. Much safer than Milltown. Non-habit forming. You can take it as needed. Patricia takes the prescription gratefully. Valium, diazepam, from Hoffman LaRoche. The marketing is everywhere. Every medical journal, every doctor's office. Valium for the anxiety of modern life. The ads show confident women, working, volunteering, smiling. Patricia takes it for anxiety. Her neighbor takes it for insomnia. Her sister takes it for muscle spasms. Her mother takes it for nerves. By 1970, Valium is the most prescribed drug in America. By 1975, 2.3 billion tablets are dispensed annually. That's 10.6 tablets for every man, woman, and child in America. You can't make this up. Those are the actual numbers. And here's the kicker, internal documents from Hoffman LaRoche, which won't be released until lawsuits forced them out in the late 1990s, show they knew. From 1961, 2 years before Valium even launched, they knew benzodiazepines were addictive. They knew withdrawal could be deadly. They knew, and they marketed it as safe anyway. Because profit. You're in Patricia's house now, 1978, 15 years after that first prescription. She's sitting at her kitchen table, bottle of Valium in front of her, counting tablets. 16 left. Refill appointment in 9 days. The math doesn't work. She needs 2 tablets a day to feel normal. That's 18 tablets. She'll be short. Short means 2 days of withdrawal, shaking, panic, possibly seizures. She's been through it before. 3 years ago, when her pharmacy was closed for a holiday weekend, she thought she was dying. Heart racing. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Her husband found her on the bathroom floor. Emergency room. They stabilized her with IV Valium and lectured her about drug-seeking behavior. Drug-seeking behavior. Her. A 50-year-old housewife who's never done anything wrong in her life. She was so ashamed she couldn't speak. Now she's rationing. Trying to make 16 tablets last 9 days. Splitting them in half. Taking 3/4 when she can't stand it anymore. This is her life. Has been for years. Will be until she dies. Because you can't just stop benzodiazepines. Not after 15 years. The withdrawal can kill you, literally kill you. Seizures, cardiac arrest. So she's trapped, chemically, physically, utterly. But it's medicine. Her doctor prescribed it. It's FDA approved. She's not an addict. She's a patient. There's a difference. Isn't there outside suburban America stretches in all directions? The dream, the lawn, the car, the future. But inside medicine cabinets and kitchen drawers, in bedside tables are bottles. Milltown, Valium, Librium, Ativan, different names, same promise. You can feel better, you can function, you can be who everyone needs you to be. And the promise is kept. The drugs work. That's the terrible thing. They actually work. For a while, until they don't, until you need them just to feel normal. Until normal is a memory and you're just avoiding withdrawal. You're in a different house now. 1985, working class neighborhood, Detroit suburbs. A man sits in his garage, mid-40s, coveralls, mechanic. His name is Frank Kowalski. He works at the Ford plant, has for 23 years. Good job. Union, benefits. He's holding a bottle of Percocet, prescribed 3 months ago after a back injury, lifting an engine block. The injury healed. The prescription didn't end. He takes 2 tablets. The pain fades. But something else happens too. The worry fades. The exhaustion, the quiet desperation of working the same job for 23 years with 30 more ahead. For an hour after the pills, he feels okay. And okay is more than he usually feels. So he keeps taking them, even after his back is healed. Because the pain wasn't just physical. 2 years later, Frank is taking 8 Percocet a day. His doctor finally says no. You're dependent. I can't prescribe more. Frank tries to explain. He needs them. Not wants, needs. The doctor doesn't listen, doesn't offer help, doesn't suggest treatment, just no more prescriptions. Good luck. So Frank does what millions of Americans do. He finds another way. Pills from coworkers. Pills from emergency rooms in different counties. Pills from dealers who've switched from cocaine to opioids because the market is bigger. By 1990, Frank is spending $200 a week on pills. By 1995, pills are too expensive. He switches to heroin. Same drug family, just cheaper. He tells himself it's temporary, just until he can get clean. He never gets clean. In 1998, Frank Kowalski dies of an overdose in his garage. Same chair where he took his first Percocet 13 years earlier. The obituary says, died unexpectedly. Like it came out above nowhere, boy. Like there wasn't a 13-year path from prescription to grave. You're standing in Frank's garage now, looking at the empty chair. And here it is. The pattern complete. Rome elevation without integration equals fall. 1847. Medicine without protocol equals addiction. 1898. Heroin non-addictive equals epidemic. 1963. Valium safe equals dependence. 1985 Percocet prescribed equals death. Different drugs, different decades. Same story. The protocol broken. The stages skipped. Elevation without purification or integration. Chemistry without wisdom. Medicine without meaning. And we call each one unexpected. Like we didn't see it coming. Like the Romans didn't warn us. Like we haven't done this exact thing a dozen times already. Frank Kowalski wasn't weak. He was betrayed. Patricia Thompson wasn't an addict. She was dependent on medicine her doctor told her was safe. Eleanor Whitmore wasn't failing. The system failed her. The boy who got heroin for his cough wasn't a junkie. He was 7 years old. James Garrett didn't die from war complications. He died from a prescription. And Nero didn't go mad from divine curse. He went mad from breaking a protocol the Romans had spent centuries perfecting. The pattern is clear, has always been clear. We just keep refusing to see it. Time shifts one more time. You're moving forward now, getting closer to the present. 1990s, the opioid crisis is building, but quietly. One prescription at a time, a new drug launches. 1996, OxyContin, made by Purdue Pharma. The marketing is aggressive. Sales reps visit every doctor. The message is simple. This is the safe opioid. Time-release formula prevents addiction. Pain is the fifth vital sign. Treat it aggressively. Doctors prescribe it, millions of prescriptions, billions of pills. The company makes $13 billion. And people start dying, not right away, not obviously. Just one here, one there, enough to notice, not enough to stop. By 2010, prescription opioids are killing more people than car accidents. By 2015, a new drug enters the supply. Fentanyl, synthetic, 50 times stronger than heroin. The death rate explodes. Overdoses everywhere. High school athletes, middle managers, retirees, every demographic, every income level. Your brother Ezra is somewhere in this timeline. 2017, Ezra Thorne, 22 years old, tears his rotator cuff playing basketball. Surgery required. Doctor prescribes Vicodin, 30 tablets. Take one every 6 hours for pain. Refill if needed. Ezra takes them as prescribed. The pain goes away, but something else goes away too. The anxiety, the pressure, the constant feeling that he's not good enough. He feels okay. For the first time in years, he feels okay. So when the prescription runs out, he asks for more. The doctor refills. No questions. Why would there be Ezra's not an addict? He's a patient recovering from surgery. 3 months later, Ezra is taking 8 Vicodin a day. Up from 4, up from 2. 6 months later, the doctor cuts him off. I can't keep prescribing. You need to see a pain specialist. The pain specialist wants $7,000 for a 30-day program. Insurance doesn't cover it. Ezra doesn't have $7,000, so he finds another way. Street pills. Then when those get too expensive, heroin. It's the same thing a friend tells him. Same drug family, just cheaper. And it is the same thing. Until it's not. Until the heroin is cut with fentanyl. Until one dose is fine and the next is lethal. Until your brother is dead on his bathroom floor at 24 years old. You're in a cemetery now. Present day, gray sky, cold wind. You're standing in front of a headstone, Ezra Thorne, 1995 to 2019. Beloved son and brother, you kneel in the grass, trace the letters with your finger. And you understand now, fully, completely. Ezra wasn't weak. He was in a trap 2,000 years old. Romans, morphine addicts, Valium dependence. Ezra, different drugs, same trap, same broken protocol. Elevation without purification or integration. Chemistry without wisdom. Medicine without meaning. The pattern repeating. Forever. Unless we finally learn. You put your hand on the stone. I understand now, you whisper. It wasn't your fault. You were prescribed into this. The system set you up to fail and then blamed you for failing. The wind picks up, carries your words away. Rome knew how to do this right. purification, elevation, integration. Use the drugs as tools for growth, not escape. Approach them with reverence, not desperation. You stand up. Look at the rows of other headstones, other names, other stories ending the same way. We forgot, Rome forgot, and we're forgetting again, and people keep dying because we refuse to learn. You turn and walk back through the cemetery, knowing the pattern, knowing the answer, knowing it won't change anything unless we choose to change it. The question is, you leave the cemetery as evening falls, sky bruised purple, air cold enough to make your breath visible. You walk without purpose, just moving because standing still at Ezra's grave felt impossible. Your phone buzzes, article notification. New psychedelic therapy shows 70% success rate for PTSD and depression. You stop on the sidewalk. Read while people flow around you like water around stone. The article talks about clinical trials, MDMA for trauma, psilocybin for depression, ketamine for suicidal ideation. A researcher is quoted, "These aren't your grandparents' drugs. We understand them now. We know how to use them safely. We've learned from past mistakes. This time is different. This time is different." You've heard that before. 1847 morphine is different from opium. Purer, safer. 1898 heroin is different from morphine. Non-addictive. 1963 Valium is different from barbiturates. Can't overdose. 1996 OxyContin is different from other opioids. Time release prevents abuse. This time is different. Is it? You're moving through the city now? Brooklyn, evening. The streets fill with people heading home, heading out, heading somewhere. You find yourself walking toward an address you wrote down weeks ago. A warehouse in Bushwick. Unmarked door. Silver spray paint 2847. You knock. A woman answers. Late 20s. Tattoos covering both arms. Nose ring. Eyes that are kind and tired. You here for the ceremony. You nod. First time with us. First time with anything, you say. She studies you. You look like you need this. My brother died 6 months ago. Overdose. Her face softens. I'm sorry. Half the people here have that story. Come in. Inside the warehouse has been transformed. Soft lighting, cushions arranged in a circle, tapestries hanging from exposed beams. An altar in the center with candles, crystals, photographs, offerings. 20 people are already seated, ages from early 20s to late 60s. Every race. Some look nervous. Some look excited. Some look like they've been here before and know what's coming. At the center of the circle sits a man, 50-something, long gray hair and a ponytail, simple white shirt, barefoot. He's introduced as Miguel Santos, the facilitator, the guide, the one who holds the space. Welcome, Miguel says. His voice is soft but fills the room anyway. You're here because something brought you, pain maybe, curiosity, loss, a sense that there's more to consciousness than what you're currently experiencing. People nod, you nod. What we're doing tonight is ancient, older than Rome. Indigenous cultures have used plant medicine for healing for tens of thousands of years, for connection, for accessing parts of consciousness that modern life has shut down. He pauses, looks around the circle. But let me be very clear. This is not recreational. This is not a party. This is sacred work. It requires respect, intention, and integration. There's that word, integration. The missing piece, the stage Rome forgot. Miguel continues, tonight we're working with psilocybin mushrooms. The dose is carefully measured. The setting is carefully constructed. And I will be here the entire time, holding space, making sure you're safe. He explains the protocol. And it sounds exactly like what you saw in Rome. Stage 1 preparation. They've all fasted for 6 hours. Set intentions. Approached with humility. Stage 2 elevation. The mushrooms will take them somewhere. Open doors. Show them things. Stage 3 integration. Tomorrow they'll gather again. Process. Make meaning. Transform experience into wisdom. All 3 stages. The complete protocol. Exactly what Rome had. Exactly what we forgot. The ceremony begins. Miguel distributes small cups. Each contains a measured dose of ground psilocybin mixed with honey and lemon juice. When you're ready, he says, drink. Then lie back. Close your eyes. Trust the medicine. Trust yourself. Trust this space. You watch people drink. Some grimace at the taste. Some cry before swallowing. Some sit still for a long moment holding the cup, gathering courage. The woman next to you is shaking. Mid-30s, expensive clothes. She looks like she came from an office. First time you whisper. She nods. My therapist recommended it. I've tried everything else. 10 years of therapy, every antidepressant. Nothing helps. What are you hoping for? She's quiet. Then I just want to feel something other than numb. I want to remember what it's like to be alive. She drinks, lies back, closes her eyes. You watch as the medicine takes hold. Not dramatic, just a gradual softening. Her breathing deepens. The tension in her jaw releases. The armor she wears to work every day starts to dissolve. Around the circle, similar transformations. People settling into the experience. Some stay still, some move gently, some cry, some smile. Miguel moves through the space like a priest, checking on people, offering a hand, a blanket, water. His presence is steady, calm. This is what a guide looks like. This is what was missing in every other story. The hospitals that gave morphine to soldiers and sent them home alone. The doctors who prescribed Valium and never explained dependence. The pharmaceutical companies that marketed OxyContin and provided no support. They all handed out elevation and walked away. Miguel stays, holds space, guides. This is the protocol working. This is Rome remembered. Hours pass. The experience peaks and softens. People begin to return, opening eyes, sitting up, looking around like they're seeing the world new. Miguel gathers them back. Take your time. Breathe. When you're ready, I invite you to share. No pressure, but if something wants to be said, this is the space. Silence first. Then the woman next to you speaks. I saw my daughter, she says, voice thick with emotion. She's 12, alive, healthy, but I saw her at 3 years old, learning to walk, and I was so present then, so amazed by every step, every fall, every recovery. She wipes her eyes. Somewhere along the way, I stopped being amazed. I stopped being present. I just went through motions. Work, dinner, bedtime, repeat. And tonight I remembered. I remembered what wonder feels like. I remembered why I'm alive. Others nod. Several are crying now. A man speaks. Late 50s. Scarred hands. Veteran, you think. I saw everyone I killed, he says. Flat. Matter of fact. Afghanistan, Iraq. 23 confirmed. I've been running from those faces for 30 years. Pills, booze, anything to not see them. He looks at his hands. But tonight I stopped running. I looked. Really looked. And I told them I was sorry. And I felt, I don't know how, but I felt forgiven. Or maybe I forgave myself. I'm not sure it matters which. More sharing, more stories, each different, each the same. People confronting what they've avoided, feeling what they've numbed, reconnecting with parts of themselves they shut down to survive. This is integration. This is stage 3. This is the piece that makes elevation sacred instead of recreational. Without this, psilocybin is just another drug, just another high. With this, it becomes medicine, real medicine. Not the kind that removes pain, but the kind that teaches you how to hold it. The ceremony ends near dawn. People leave slowly, changed. You help Miguel clean up, washing cups, folding blankets, clearing the altar. How long have you been doing this, you ask? 15 years. Started after my own healing journey. I was addicted to heroin for a decade, in and out of jail. Lost everything. You look at him. He doesn't look like a former addict. He looks peaceful, centered, like someone who found something most people spend their lives seeking. What changed? Ayahuasca ceremony in Peru, 2008. I went because I was suicidal. Figured if it didn't help, I'd finish the job myself. He dries a cup carefully, places it on a shelf. But something opened, and I saw that addiction wasn't my problem. Disconnection was my problem. I'd been disconnected from myself, from meaning, from anything bigger than my own pain. The heroin was just my clumsy attempt to fix that. And ayahuasca fixed it. He smiles, shakes his head. No, ayahuasca showed me it was broken. Showed me what disconnection looks like from the inside. Showed me I had a choice, which was stay disconnected and die, or do the work of reconnecting and live. The medicine didn't heal me. It showed me what needed healing. Then I had to do the work. That's integration. That's what most people skip. He looks at you directly now. That's what your brother probably didn't get. The showing is easy. The medicine does that. The work comes after. And that's where most people fail. Or the system fails them. Same result either way. You're walking through Oakland as sun rises. The city waking up. Coffee shops opening. People starting commutes. Everything looks the same. But you're different. Shifted. You think about what you've seen. What you've lived through in this long night of research and memory, Rome with its temples and perfect protocol and eventual collapse, Victorian America with its medicine that became addiction, post-war America with its housewives and pills and quiet suffering, modern America with its opioid epidemic and 100,000 dead, and now this, underground ceremonies, psychedelic therapy, people trying to rediscover what Rome knew and forgot. Is this time different? Maybe. The approach is different. The intention, the structure. Miguel and facilitators like him aren't just handing out drugs. They're holding space, teaching integration, honoring the sacred. They're trying to rebuild the protocol that Rome had and lost. But can it scale? Can it survive contact with capitalism, with insurance companies, with the same pharmaceutical system that gave us Valium and OxyContin? That's the question. And the answer isn't clear. You're home now. Brooklyn, your apartment, small, cluttered, books everywhere. You make coffee, sit at your desk. The research continues. You pull up the studies, the data, the numbers that made that article promising. Psilocybin therapy for depression, 70% response rate after one session, compared to 45% for SSR is after weeks of daily use. MDMA therapy for PTSD, 67% of participants no longer meet diagnostic criteria after 3 sessions. Ketamine for suicidal ideation, relief within hours, sometimes minutes. The drugs work, genuinely work, better than anything else we have. But there's always a but. The studies are small, controlled, guided by trained therapists, following strict protocols. What happens when this goes mainstream? When ketamine clinics open on every corner, like Starbucks, when insurance companies pressure therapists to see more patients in less time, when pharmaceutical companies start marketing legal psychedelics the way they marketed Valium. What happens when we try to industrialize the sacred strip out the integration package, just the elevation? You've seen this movie before. You know how it ends. Your phone rings. Your mother. Silas, we need to talk. About what? About you, about this obsession with Ezra's death. It's been 6 months. You need to let it go. You need to move on. Move on, like grief has an expiration date, like understanding has a deadline. Mom, do you know why Ezra couldn't stop? Silence. He was in pain, and the system gave him chemistry without wisdom, elevation without integration. It set him up to fail and then blamed him when he did. Silas, that's not. Your father took Valium for 20 years. Did you know I know that now? More silence, longer this time. Who told you? You just did. You hear her breathe, hear her make a decision. Yes, your father took Valium for 20 years. The doctor prescribed it in 1975 for work stress. He took it every day until 1995. When he tried to stop, he had a seizure. We told everyone it was a stroke. We were ashamed. You close your eyes. So no, honey, you're not the first person to figure this out. We've known all along. We just didn't talk about it. We didn't have words for it, didn't have permission. We just survived it and tried to protect you boys from knowing. Did it work, the protecting? Ezra's dead. You're destroying yourself trying to understand why. So no, I don't think it worked. You don't have an answer. I have to go, Mom. Silas, please, take care of yourself. Don't let this consume you like it consumed your father, like it consumed Ezra. I love you. I love you too. You hang up. Sit in the silence. Your father, 20 years on Valium, a secret carried for decades, a seizure labeled a stroke because the truth was too shameful. How many other families have stories like this? How many secrets are buried in medicine cabinets? How many people suffering in silence because we decided chemical dependence was moral failure instead of what it actually is, a predictable response to powerful drugs used without protocol? You're writing now, have been for days, maybe weeks. Time blurs when you're trying to capture 2,000 years of pattern. The book is taking shape. The eternal intoxication, how humans have chased the same high for 2,000 years. You're on the last chapter now, the one about hope and fear and whether this time really is different. You write about Miguel, about the ceremony, about the protocol being rebuilt one underground gathering at a time. You write about the clinical trials, the promising data, the potential for real healing. But you also write about the risks, the commercialization, the inevitable moment when someone figures out how to strip out the integration and sell just the elevation. You write about Rome, about how they had it right for centuries and then forgot in a generation. You write about Ezra, about the phone call you didn't return, about finding him too late. You write about your father, about 20 years of Valium and the stroke that wasn't, and you write about the choice. The one every person, every culture, every generation has to make. Use powerful tools with wisdom, or let them destroy you. Follow the protocol, or break it and suffer the consequences. Remember, or forget and repeat. The words fill pages. The coffee goes cold. Hours pass. You're at Ezra's grave again. Evening. The sky is clear for once. You bring the manuscript. Read it aloud to the stone. I understand now why you couldn't stop. Why Dad couldn't stop. Why millions throughout history couldn't stop. Wind in the trees. It's not because you were weak. It's because the need is real. The pain is real, and the drugs actually work. They do what they promise, your hand on cold stone. The problem is they also take everything else. Choice, freedom, the possibility of real healing because they offer fake healing. Elevation without transformation. A bird calls. The Romans figured this out. They built a whole system. Purification, elevation, integration. Use the drugs as tools for growth, not escape. Approach with reverence, not desperation. You sit in the grass. And then they forgot. The emperors wanted the high without the work. Transcendence on demand, and it destroyed them. Darkness coming. We're doing it again as, right now, ketamine clinics opening everywhere, psilocybin going mainstream. Everyone promising this time is different. You close your eyes. Maybe it is. Maybe Miguel and people like him can keep it sacred. Preserve the protocol. You open them. But probably not. Probably will monetize it. Strip out the meaning, package the elevation, and in 20 years there'll be another crisis. Another drug, another generation of dead kids. You stand. I'm sorry I couldn't save you. I'm sorry the system that prescribed you into this couldn't prescribe you out. I'm sorry you got elevation without integration. You turn to leave. Stop. Turn back. But I won't forget. I'll tell your story. I'll show the pattern. And maybe someone will see it and choose differently. You walk away through darkening cemetery, knowing it won't change everything, but hoping it changes something. You're home. Late. The book is done. You post the final chapter online, on your podcast, on social media, everywhere. The response is immediate, overwhelming. Some people understand. This is what I needed to hear. You put words to something I've felt my whole life. Thank you. Some people don't. You're romanticizing drug use. This is dangerous. You're encouraging people to break the law. You respond to no one, just let it exist. The truth doesn't need defending. It just needs saying. Weeks pass. The book finds its audience. Recovering addicts, families who lost someone, people who lived through the Valium generation and never understood why it felt wrong. Your podcast grows. People send their stories, their father's Valium, their son's OxyContin, their own struggle. The pattern repeats in every story. Prescribed, worked, stopped working, couldn't stop, blamed themselves. You interview people, historians, pharmacologists, addiction specialists, recovering addicts, ceremony facilitators. Everyone says the same thing in different words. The drugs aren't the enemy. The loss of meaning is the enemy. The loss of wisdom, the loss of protocol. You interview Miguel for the podcast. He talks about integration. People think the mushrooms are magic. They're not. The magic is in the ceremony, in the container, in the processing afterward. Take away any of those elements and you just have a drug. With all of them, you have medicine. You interview a pharmaceutical executive, off the record. He refuses to let you use his name. We knew about Valium, about OxyContin. We knew they were addictive, but the market wanted them. Doctors wanted them. Patients wanted them. We're a business. We sell what people want. Even if it kills them. Everything kills people if misused. Cars kill people. We don't ban cars. But you lied about the risks. Silence. We minimize them. That's different. Is it? He hangs up. But here's what you discover in your research. Here's the twist you didn't see coming. You're interviewing Miguel, third session. You've built trust. And he tells you something he's never told anyone publicly. Before I became a facilitator, I worked in pharmaceutical sales. 1998 to 2005, I sold OxyContin. You freeze. I was good at it, really good. Made 6 figures, won awards, and I knew. We all knew it was addictive, but we were trained to minimize that, to emphasize the benefits, to hit our quotas. He's quiet for a long moment. I caused the deaths I'm now trying to prevent. I sold the drug that killed people I'm now trying to help. That's the irony. That's the karma. That's why I do this work. Does that make you a hypocrite? Probably, but I'd rather be a hypocrite trying to fix it than continue being part of the problem. This is the twist, the revelation, the thing that makes the story complex instead of simple. The same people who caused the crisis are sometimes the same people trying to solve it. The damage and the healing coming from the same hands. You're at another ceremony, different location. This time it's ayahuasca. You drink the bitter brew. Lie back. Wait. It hits different from psilocybin, harder, deeper. You're in the jungle, primordial, before humans, before language. And you see it, the pattern, not as words but as geometry. Spirals, fractals, the same shape repeating at every scale. Birth, growth, death, rebirth, innocence, experience, suffering, wisdom, elevation, integration. The pattern that works when followed, that breaks when interrupted. You see Rome, priests and temples, protocol working, people transformed. You see the moment it breaks, emperors seeking elevation without preparation, the sacred becoming profane. You see the collapse, slow, inevitable. You see it all, the whole 2,000 years, compressed into a single vision. And you understand, this isn't about drugs. Never was. It's about humans learning to use powerful tools without destroying ourselves. And we're terrible at it. We discover fire and burn forests. We discover atoms and build bombs. We discover chemistry and create epidemics. Not because the tools are evil, but because we lack wisdom. And wisdom can't be taught, only earned. Through suffering, through loss, through integration. Rome paid that price. The opium epidemic paid it. Valium paid it. OxyContin paid it. Ezra paid it. And now you're paying it, living through it, processing it, integrating it. That's the only way forward. Not avoiding pain, but moving through it, making meaning from it, transforming it into wisdom. The ayahuasca shows you this, not as information, but as experience. You feel it in your bones, then you return. The ceremony ends. Dawn. People share different visions. Same truth. Rosa, the facilitator, speaks. My grandfather was a shaman. He told me the plant teachers don't give us what we want. They give us what we need, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. She looks around the circle. The hurt is the teaching. The integration of the hurt is the wisdom. Skip that, and medicine becomes poison. Months pass. The book finds its audience. Not millions, but enough. The people who need it find it. You get letters, emails, messages. A 68-year-old woman writes, I took Valium for 30 years. Nobody ever told me I was addicted. Your book helped me understand it wasn't my fault. Thank you. A father writes, my son died of an overdose last year, OxyContin. I blamed him. Your book helped me see he was trapped. It doesn't bring him back, but it helps. A veteran writes, I've been on pain pills since 2004. After reading your book, I started a proper taper with medical help. It's hell, but I'm doing it. For the first time, I have hope. These messages sustain you. Remind you why this matters. You're walking through Brooklyn. Evening. The city settling. You think about the future. About where this goes. Psilocybin will be legal soon. 5 years, maybe less. MDMA will follow. We're at a crossroads. The same one Rome stood at 2,000 years ago. We can approach these tools with wisdom, with protocol, with the understanding that elevation requires integration. Or we can do what we always do, monetize them, industrialize them, strip out the sacred and package the high. If we choose wisdom, maybe this time is different. Maybe we can have healing without crisis. But if we choose profit, we're just Rome again. And we know how that ends. The pattern is clear. The choice is ours. You're at your desk. Final entry in your journal. I started this research to understand why Ezra died, to make sense of a senseless death. I found something bigger, a pattern 2,000 years old, a protocol that works when followed and fails when broken. Rome knew this, built a civilization on it, then forgot and fell. We're repeating their story, same pattern, different drugs. The only question is, will we learn before we fall? I don't know. Nobody does, but I know this. The drugs will always be here. The desire for elevation will always be here. What can change is our approach, our wisdom, our willingness to do the hard work of integration. Purification, elevation, integration. The protocol is simple. Following it is hard, but it's the only way forward that doesn't end in bodies. Ezra's body, my father's near miss, the hundreds of thousands lost to opioids. They paid the price for our forgetting. Let's not make them pay it again. Let's remember Rome. Remember the protocol. Remember that elevation without integration is just escape. An escape pursued long enough becomes a cage. That's the lesson. That's what 2,000 years of history teaches us. The question is, are we finally ready to learn it? You close the journal, turn off the light. Outside Brooklyn hums. People living, struggling, seeking elevation in 1,000 different ways. Some will find it wisely. With protocol, with integration. Some won't. Will chase it recklessly. Skip steps, break patterns, suffer consequences. That's humanity. Has been for 2,000 years. Will be for 2,000 more. But maybe just maybe a few will read this, see the pattern. Choose differently. That's enough. Has to be enough. Because the alternative is another 2,000 years of the same story. And you've lived through that story. Watched it kill your brother. You're done with that story. Time for a new one. One where elevation and integration are inseparable. Where medicine stays medicine. Where wisdom matters more than profit. Where the protocol is remembered instead of forgotten. Where humans finally learn to use powerful tools without destroying themselves. It's possible. Rome proved it's possible. For centuries they did it. They just forgot. Let's not forget. Let's remember Ezra. Remember your father. Remember Rome. Remember that the high is just the beginning. The real work happens after. In the days and months and years of integration. That's where healing lives. That's where wisdom grows. That's where the pattern finally breaks. And something new begins. You lie down. Close your eyes. Outside, the city never sleeps. Just changes rhythms. Inside, you finally rest. The research is done. The book is written. The pattern is revealed. What happens next is up to everyone else. You've done your part. Told Ezra's story. Shown the pattern. Offered the warning. Now you sleep. Deep. Dreamless. Finally at peace. Knowing you've honored your brother. Honored the wisdom Rome discovered and forgot. Knowing that some will listen. Some won't. But enough will. Enough to change something. And that's enough. The pattern continues. But maybe, just maybe, it bends tonight. Toward wisdom. Toward protocol. Toward integration. Toward a future where elevation doesn't end in fall. Where Rome's lesson is finally learned. Where Ezra didn't die for nothing. Sleep well, brother. Your story is told. The pattern is seen. The work continues. And someday maybe we'll get it right.